Good morning and welcome to my channel. My name is Carly and this is Sewscape. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you are a subscriber. So we have our first kind of snowy days. Snow is on the forecast today and it's raining where I live now and the snow's about to start falling. So last night I started working on this little winter jacket. So I'll just show you. It is made out of it's a wool blend. I forget what it's called. Excuse my face, I just woke up. The time change just happened. So I got an extra hour of sleep this morning, and last night as I was working on this jacket, I got a little discouraged. I didn't think I was actually gonna finish it. I told my husband, I'm like, this is the most difficult project I've ever worked on. So I started it last night, and so this is how far I've gotten. So the side seams are open. I sewed the welts on, but the fabric is too thick for my machine to get through to kind of stitch these tops down. So I'm gonna have to do that by hand. I cut one of the welts a little high on top. Luckily this fabric is like thick and puffy enough that it hides it a little bit, and I think in just tacking this down it will kind of get rid of the hole that I cut in the fabric. So I could not for the life of me figure out how this facing went on last night, but I woke up, read the instructions this morning, and just took it one little step by one little step, and I got the upper collar on. It looks really good. It's very warm. It is a crop jacket, so it comes just to here, and the pockets are really tiny. Like, I get because it's cropped, the pocket can't come down any further. But this will definitely be kind of the pocket that my keys can fit in, but not my phone. So I guess I'll always have to be wearing a bag when I have this, but it is really cute. I worked really hard on getting the plaid to match up, and I did an okay job. The only problem is in the back, I had to cut a little bit of length off one side in order for the plaid to go all the way through. And then on the welts, I wasn't even going to try to match up the plaid, so I just cut those welts on the bias, so it kind of has a little like chevroning effect. But it would have been better if it was on more of a slant, but then the pocket would have had to even be tinier. So this jacket is supposed to be unlined, but it's a little itchy on the inside and I'd like to do a lining, so I have a little bit of this kind of like poly satin. It's thicker. I used it for the inside of the pockets, and I'm gonna draft a lining for the inside of this. So this collar piece looks crazy on paper. I'll show you what it looks like. And so now I'm just gonna work on kind of making the facing or the lining for this. And so for the lining, I'm gonna cut out 2 front pieces minus this facing. So I need to measure kind of where this facing fold is and make sure it matches up on the pattern piece. And then on the back too, I'll show you what it looks like in here. So I haven't attached these together yet, but I'm just gonna kind of measure this and subtract this off of the back pattern piece. The power is flickering here, so I'm gonna sew as much as I can before the power goes out. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll take you along for my kind of lining drafting journey. Alright, so I just did a little bit of cutting out, so I'll just show you here. So this is the front piece. So I just kind of followed the fold line here that was marked on the pattern and just kind of connected that up top here. And then I just cut the back piece and the sleeve piece the same. So I'm going to construct the lining. I still haven't figured out how, because the back neckline of the coat is notched, whereas I'm pretty sure that this will end up being round. So we'll just see how it goes, and we might have to do some work. Alright, so I just kind of like pinned it and tried it on, turned it around and see if that worked. And it actually worked really great. So this is the kind of back section here. So there were 2 kind of little points that came off right here on each side, and that was so that you were able to kind of tuck this facing under and then top stitch it in if you're not lining it. So I just cut off those little corners, and yeah, I tried that on, so that's great. So I'm going to press these seams now that I know that it is all good. And I'm gonna put the sleeves on the lining and on the jacket itself and do up the side seams, and then I will attach this. I'm gonna baste it in first just to make sure it's all good, and then because this is a pain to unpick, both of these, but this lining is so nice. I just love it. It's so nice and slippery. So I'm going to do the sleeves now. And the lining is done. Ta-da! So now I'm gonna do the same thing to the main coat. So a day has passed. It is my next day off. I just washed my hair so it's a little wet. I know I'm not in glam mode, but it's the weekend. So I've just sewed in the lining here and it looks really great. So the lining worked out how I had just kind of clipped the curves of the neckline off because they were shaped like a square. So I just rounded them out and I tried it on. It looks awesome. I can't wait to put a little tag in the back as a little hangy uppy thing. So now I'm gonna work on hemming the sleeves. So I do this a little backwards. I don't know if this is silly or not. So what I like to do when I'm doing this is I take the coat, the main fabric, and I fold this in the way that it would be hemmed, and then I take the lining and I fold it backwards the way it would sit inside the coat, like this, and then I bring them together so that's exactly how it's gonna sit. And then I reach inside the jacket and the lining here because it's not fully attached just around the neckline. So I reach inside, go up that sleeve, and kind of pinch those two seams together. So I've got it on the inside right here, and I'm gonna pull it through the coat. And then the way that these are facing each other here is the way it needs to be attached inside the coat. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to pin it all the way around, just maintaining that distance. Good, good, good. So I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna stitch along and do the same thing to the other side. All right, so now it's really feeling like a coat. It's looking really cute. The sleeves are all finished. The only problem is this sleeve wasn't cut perfectly on grain, and with the plaid you can really see that. But I'm sure I'm the only person that's gonna notice, or you guys, now that I've pointed it out to you. But it is looking really cute. I'm gonna go get ready a little bit before I pick up my kids from school. And then when I come home, I'm going to sew on the waistband of this, and that'll be really cute. I love the lining inside. This was a thrifted lining, so I'm so glad I just found that in my stash, and it's very nice and slippery to kind of go on top of bulky layers. I can see myself just cozying up. It's like wearing a blanket. So yeah, I'm gonna go get ready and I will see you guys in a little bit. So I just sewed on the waistband of the coat, and as I was going through, when it was 2 layers of wool on top of each other, it did okay. But when there was 3 layers on top of each other, it really struggled. So I'm gonna have to sew, kind of slip stitch the other side of the waistband. Here, let me get it. I have it pinned so I can show you. So here is the waistband attached on the underside, and then here I just have the seam allowances folded in and it pinned, and I'm just gonna slip stitch this to the lining here, and that will be done. I'm kind of procrastinating on hand stitching, so I'm going to attach my buttonhole foot and see if there's any way that I'm gonna be able to actually sew the buttons in this instead of having to sew them by hand. And I've never sewed buttonholes by hand, so I'm hoping this works because it looks pretty difficult, but we'll get through it together. So I'm gonna attempt a buttonhole, take my walking foot off, and do a little test one before I get to hand sewing. All right, so I just sewed a little test buttonhole here. I don't know if you can see that. It had a really hard time, so I had to kind of like push the fabric through and pull it kind of back, but it seemed to have worked. I know there's an attachment that comes with this machine I sew with a Singer Quantum Stylist, and the buttonhole has a kind of bottom plate that you can put on thicker fabric. So I'm gonna look for that, see if that makes a difference, and sew another test button. So I ended up sewing up the rest of those buttonholes, and I only sewed 3 functional, and the other 3 I just left as decorative buttons. And here I am just sewing down those corners of those welt pockets because they were too thick to fit through my sewing machine. And I also hand stitched the waistband down to the bottom of the coat. There was a lot of hand stitching in this project, but I really loved it. You might notice here that I am not wearing my thimble and my nails are too long. So if any of you long fingernailed sewists have any solutions to what you can do to use a thimble with long nails, please drop a comment down below. So all in all, I love this coat. It is so cute. The changes that I made to the pattern are the button placket here. I only made the inside buttons functional. The other ones are just for decoration. When these are buttoned up, one looks higher than the other. Maybe I'll fix the other one so it sits up a little higher. It's a little droopier. But that's just because I was literally gonna break my sewing machine putting all these layers of fabric through my buttonholer. So it worked out really good. I think it is fine. That only part is functional. If anything, I might put a little kind of hook on the inside just to keep the top over so the collar sits nice and straight. And then, yeah, I omitted the tabs on the side, same thing, just because my fabric was so thick that my sewing machine just wouldn't even sew through it. I know I watched a couple videos of how people change the height of their presser feet in their sewing machine. So I might end up doing that eventually the next time I sew something nice and thick like this. And that is all. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you're planning on sewing from the Berta issue this month or anything in the future that is on your sewing list. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.